Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 3 of the Rich Energy British Mini Bikes Championship. And we are here at a very busy Whilton Mill Circuit for this third round, very popular track with the riders. As you can see from this superb drone footage. So this is the Mini GP 140s and 50s coming up in a few moments. Riders are in the waiting zone and we're underway in just a few moments as the rest of the pit bikes make their way off the circuit. Has been a bit of a delay, of course, if you are just joining us here. There were a couple of incidents earlier on today requiring medical attention, so the race program is running a little bit later than anticipated as the riders make their way out onto the track for their formation lap. Still plenty of action, of course, to come in this first block of racing today. We've got the veterans coming up after this race. But in the meantime, let's have a look at the SM140 Mini GP 140 and 50 race lineup. And Daniel Goodman was the pole sitter with a 54.398 from Ruben Bray, Zach Weston in third, Joel Greig in fourth, Lewis Mullen and Peter Willis rounding out the top 6. Seventh was Mason Greasley from Harvey Lathrop, Nathan Ellis Ward in ninth, Luke Hutchinson in 10th, Ty Butler and James Cleary taking us down to 12th position, Kobe Perry and Teo Collymore 13th and 14th position, Luke Schofield, Bobby King, Dominic Gardner, Matthew Wood in 18th position. Last rider to qualify within the 1 minute marker, Ruby Booth in 19th, Joe Mostica in 20th, George Wood and James Walker 22nd, Harry Pell, Cade Watt in 24th position, Ozian Thomas, Jack Knight's 26th, Brooke Champion, Harvey Brooks, Kelsey Carter, and with no time, Ryan Frost rounding up the top 30. And tagging on at the back there is the 67 of George Bowes again. No lap time in qualifying, so he will start right at the back of the field. These, of course, 2 race groups and combined into one race. They are scored separately, racing together, of course. Just a shout out for the Uggly race. That's a little bit later on. We've got the bikes lining up now. We've got the vets coming up after this race, and then it will be race number 1 for the Uggly Cup just a little bit later on in the schedule. So we are lining up now for the first race of the Junior SM 140 and the Mini GP riders down on the grid. 2 different race classes racing together, and good to see there were quite a few out there at Lydd, but a bumper entry here at Whilton Mill for the third round of the championship, Jake.
Yeah, it really is good to see so many more riders out there filling up the grid and putting themselves around this Whilton Mill circuit. Just managed to get a quick look at them as they made their way out onto the circuit. A lot of motivated and very confident riders now that the sun has come back out here at Whilton Mill, so the riders looking a little bit more focused and not quite so nervous and tetchy as they might have been earlier in the day. A really good performance in that previous race, by the way, from Chloe Jones to be there in the top 6. A former racer in this category, of course, so she's really elevated herself into the seniors and done a fantastic job. But that's what these riders are looking at as they continue their progress up through the ranks. They want to be in that competitive position in the senior categories before too long, but the riders here are getting themselves into position. This should be an absolute cracker.
Well, here we go, the riders ready, the green flag goes up, we wait for the flag to drop, and away we go for the first moto for the Junior SM 140s. One rider stranded on the line there, will get that machine restarted. Everyone else seems to have got away cleanly around the first few corners, and we'll update you on the 2 race categories as the race gets underway. Daniel Goodman, though, with a superb start into Christmas for the first time. 3 abreast. Amongst that top group there, I think it was Peter Willis and Lewis Mullen battling away. And through they go. Everyone seems to have got through safely. There was that one rider stuck on the start line, but they seem to have sorted that one out as they go down to Ashby for the first time. Very good first lap so far, first half lap at least anyway. As, plenty of battle. There's the 111. Lewis Mullen down the inside of Joel Greig, but outbraked himself. Now this is the thing, Jake, we've seen a couple of riders going very deep into Christmas Corner, for example, but these corners you really have got to be careful with the outbraking manoeuvres because it's so easy to outbrake yourself and just lose a whole load of time.
Much better run through into the toe of the boot there from the 111 of Lewis Mullen. Manages to get himself up into, I think that's now 5th position, so a really good opening lap from Goodman, then Bray, Weston, Willis, and then we should have Mullen there into 6th position, in fact, behind Greig and Lathrop. But I have to say, you were talking about that, on the opening lap with riders just breaking themselves too late. You've got to remember that all of yesterday, as that is the move now to come through into position from the 111. So well done for Mullen, getting the move there on Greig. But yesterday they were in the wet, so they don't really know, a lot of them, how the bike is going to handle in the dry. They're kind of having to learn by doing. and so the race circuit is finally starting to come to them, but it is going to take a few maneuvers, whether they get them right or whether they get them wrong, to learn exactly what the bike can do. As up the inside, Grieg is trying to hang on as Lathrop comes around the outside to pull off the move out of Parker. That is a serious overtake from Henry Lathrop.
And I think a lot of trust in the bike there that was going to hang on through there, that very tricky corner. Not easy to pass on the outside through there, but certainly the treble 2 of Harvey Lathrop really pulling that move off and moving up another position. There is number 3 of Joel Grieg, 97 in the mix as well. Ty Butler as the leaders make their way through. Daniel Goodman, though, got the jump on the field and already starting to pull away. 53.7, best lap of the race so far. Ruben Bray still in second, but here is the man on the move. The treble 2 of Harvey Lathrop on the run up to Christmas corner, and very close on the edge of the top 10. The unfortunate Joel Grieg started off well, but seems to be losing some places here. And I think there are some stronger riders further down the field who seem to have got the grips of the track quite well so far.
Could be PSIs. The circuit's warmed up. You've got to remember that the heat is now starting to come into the track surface temperatures. If they've not quite got the PSIs right, then he might not have a decent level of grip in the bike. If they've just got the PSI slightly out, then there's not going to be a lot he can do. The bike is going to start sliding. He's not going to get a lot of confidence in it, and losing places, that really knocks your confidence anyway. So he's got to really start to regroup, get himself back on the bike again, and start to push himself back up the order. But if the bike isn't really responding in the way he needs it to, then it's going to be hard for him to keep his focus. He's doing his best, but it's a very tricky situation, and it's also a losing battle. Once the bike starts to drift away, it's very hard to convince yourself it can come back. The treble 2 here, though, Harvey Lathrop, doing an absolutely fantastic job, as Nathan Ellis Ward on the 8 bike is starting to get into the mix here as well, as is the 80, and that is Tayo Collymore. So they're all starting to get into the mix of a decent battle here. I think that's Collymore now on the back of Lathrop as they duel away. Nathan Ellis Ward just in behind this little duel, so a good little battle starting to shape up here, but Harvey Lathrop doing a great job.
Yeah, it's just starting to hot up a bit here, and actually Lathrop hasn't really shaken off this group on the edge of the top 10. He came through very quickly, but they are starting to keep the pressure on the treble 2. It's still Goodman that leads, Ruben Brain second, Zach Weston and Peter Willis. Then this battle on the edge of the top 5, the 111 of Lewis Mullen just going through now, and here we see Lathrop crossing the line. Looks like could be Ellis behind there, Nathan Ward, Tayo Collymore all getting involved in this. Harvey Lathrop with his fastest lap of the race so far goes down the inside of one of the back markers, the 119, which was that Harvey Brooks that's going a lap down, just filtering through these riders. There's the number 100 of Kelsey Carter as well, all doing a good job of getting through the slower traffic. Just one thing I think we should say here is, we were saying, I think neither of us are particularly fans of blue flags, and of course in a series like this, the riders at the back of the field, the ones battling for 25th, 26th place, their race is just as important as well.
That's exactly it. It's a very good point. You know, their race is important, and it doesn't matter at this stage when you're beginning your career in racing in motorbikes at this level, whether you're racing for first or whether you're racing for 15th or whether you're racing for 25th. You know, you've still got to be very focused on your battle. You've got to fight your rider that your opponent is. You've got to keep on that hunt, because it is a very tricky situation. The battle is obviously very intense, but you've got to ignore the fact that it's for a lower position, because as you learn, as you get faster as a rider, those battles are going to get bigger and bigger. Grieg, so close.
That was close. That was the Pete Willis there, and Zach Weston battling now for third position. Very tight through Ashby a few moments ago, and Weston holds on to the third position. Still got Willis behind him, and going to have a look now into Boot. He looks strong into this final few corners here. Willis having a look down the inside, but can't find the way through at the moment.
I was very impressed with Weston off the start, actually. He bolted out of the blocks and went straight into second place, but he just couldn't quite hold on from Bray at the end of the opening lap. Bray obviously very confident on the bike in the opening stint, and you've got to remember, of course, that Weston is obviously still trying to shake off the 151 of Willis. Looking further down the field, of course, Grieg is obviously in a different class to these guys. He's on the JSM 140 bike, but Harvey Lathrop is now leading that class, having charged his way forward. So Lathrop is actually gaining the ground on that one. My apologies. No, it's actually Greasley who's leading it. Greasley's leading that, because he's in sixth position. There's only 2 seconds between the two of them, and we've got 6 laps to run, so there is still a chance that that could change hands. But you've got several battles in the field, and obviously inter-class battles in the field as well, because the victory for JSM 140 is there currently being played out between Greasley and Lathrop, but then the Mini GP 140 is being battled out between the likes of Goodman, Bray, and these two for third place, the final rung on the podium, Weston and Willis.
So it's all very close. All the action really for third place at the moment as Bray sets the fastest lap of the race, 53.595. All very close though for third position as they make their way through. It's still Mason Greasley just a little bit further behind this that leads the Junior Supermoto 140. They make their way through Christmas. The race leader, I think, was just nipping through some of the tail enders going down to Ashby, and that looks like Bray in second place, just nipping through. Yeah, that certainly is it. Yeah, it looks like he's closing up quite a bit now on Goodman. Now, of course, Goodman's got this problem. There's the race leader, Goodman, really being closed on by Bray. Now, as he goes through the slower track, of course, for these midfield runners, they get a bit of a shock to the system when the leader comes through, so he's been slowed down a bit, I think.
Do you know what? I'm not sure Goodman realises just how close Bray is to him at this moment. Bray is now going to get very close to him indeed, and I would not be surprised at all if Goodman isn't quite sure just how close to him Bray is. He's going to have to look over his shoulder very quickly, but he's also got to do it in a safe place, because I think Bray's going to be on him as they come up to Christmas. Bray has been lapping much, much quicker than Goodman in the last couple of laps, but the thing is now he's got 4 laps to go. He's got time. He doesn't need to rush this. He's right there in behind Goodman. He's done the hard work. He's caught him up. He can essentially wait a couple of laps, read what Goodman's doing on the bike, and pick him off when he's got a sense of where he's vulnerable. If he can choose his moment wisely, he does not have to rush this overtake at all. He's done the hard work. He was a good 2 seconds back. Now he's been able to gain ground. He's been rapidly quicker than Goodman, but he's got time. He cannot afford to rush this or he'll lose everything. He's just got to pick his moment, and studying Goodman's line here is what he needs to spend the next 2 laps basically accomplishing.
So here we go as they filter through some of the slower riders. That's the 52 just going up.
Oh, trouble. Now who's that's gone down?
I think that might possibly have been Willis. I'm not sure. We'll check it on the lap charts when they go through. It was one of the top 10 though, I think.
It might have been Greasley, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah, possibly. The race goes on at the front as though the race has been drawn to a close.
They're just coming up to that particular incident so they can see why. And, well, it's a rather nasty tumble, that's for certain.
We're not sure. I think it may well have been Mason Greasley. Will confirm that on the lap charts, but not showing up at the moment.
I think the race will be declared there as well. We only had 3 laps to go.
So it looks likely that race will draw to a close. The pit bike vets will be out, sponsored by Moto in a few moments. But the injured rider up on Christmas Corner has brought this race to a premature close. Riders are still on the track, stationary at the moment. Now, like you say, I think you might be right there. We'll wait and see what the clerk of the course says, of course, but that was coming up to the last lap. So quite likely that race will be declared. Injured rider just at the top of the circuit by Christmas Corner. Is underway in a few moments' time. So here we are in association with Uggly and Co. We move forward to our second race of the day for this race category, Junior SM 140s and the Mini GP 140/50. Headed on the grid by Daniel Goodman with a 54.398 this morning. Ruben Bray, who's been in such good form today, is second on the grid. Zach Weston, Joel Gregg in 4th, Lewis Mullen 5th, Peter Willis rounding out the top 6. It was Mason Greasley in 7th, Harvey Lathrop in 8th position, 9th for Nathan Ellis Ward, and as they make their way out onto the track, Luke Hutchinson in 10th. A bit further back, Kobe Perry, Tao Collymore, Luke Schofield, Bobby King, Dominic Gardner and Matthew Wood was 18th in the qualifying session. Last few riders on the grid included Ruby Booth, Joe Mostica, George Wood, James Walker, Harry Pell and Cade Watt. Ozian Thomas in 25th, Jack Knight in 26th from Brook Champion, Harvey Brooks and Kelsey Carter. Ryan Frost and George Bowes no time in the qualifying, so they will start at the back of the field. This is another one of our main junior race categories. Plenty of riders entered for the weekend as well, and as we saw in the first race, some very good action, and certainly Daniel Goodman and Ruben Bray amongst others riders to watch in this second moto.
Yeah, they've given us plenty of drama and entertainment already. I have a feeling that this is the race that Ruben Bray will really want to win. He's come so close a couple of times already and had some brave runs to get to second position, but this is now his best chance of a race victory over the course of today's action. He's come very, very tight in with a lot of his performances in the first 2 races of his weekend. He's got good pace, he's got good knowledge of the circuit now, in the cooler conditions, he does seem to have a little bit more speed over one lap than his rivals out there. So this could be an interesting one. The tough question is going to be whether he can get a better start than Dan Goodman. If he can get off the line better and ahead of Goodman initially, then that will give him the momentum off the line to move his way forward. But you've got the likes of Weston, Grieg, Mullen and Willis are all in there. So it's definitely going to be quite difficult to see if he can make his way forward. Plus, you've also got that JSM 140 battle of Harvey Lathrop, who got the victory last time in his little duel with Mason Greasley. So you have to see how he's going to be. We're not going to have, as far as I'm aware, Nathan Ellis-Ward might not be on the grid for this one because he was the one who took the tumble earlier on in the race that ended up getting suspended in this category. So hopefully it's going to be a good... Oh, is he there?
I think he is there, looking at one of the other shots on the grid. I think he's
in
about
you're right.
8th position. The bike did suffer a bit of damage in that accident in the first block of racing, but
you're right, he's
looks
there.
Like he's there. So that's good news.
That's very good news. I mean, it seemed pretty hard at the time, but no, he's been able to get himself back into contention. So very good news.
I think you can tell him he's one of the older riders, I think, and he's twice as big as some of the other ones,
That's
some of the
true.
smaller riders on the grid, isn't he? He's a big lad.
Well, in these classes, they're all made of rubber anyway, aren't they? They just bounce back up. It's fine.
Here we go then. So it looks like the riders are ready and in position, of course. We've got 2 race classes here. We will keep you up to date with the positions as we wait for the flag to drop. Of course, these races have been shortened due to the stoppages earlier on today. So the start, very important indeed, and nailing it there was Daniel Goodman. Through the first corner they go. Looks like a good getaway as well for Peter Willis and Joel Craig in there as well. But 57, Daniel Goodman with a good start. Ruben Bray has got away well in second. Zach Weston. Joel Craig listed as one of the JSM 140 riders in 4th position. Mason Greasley and Harvey Lathrop a little bit further behind as they make their way down towards Ashby for the first time. And certainly the treble too. Harvey Lathrop, who was in good form in the first race, has had another good getaway.
The slightest bit of hesitation off the line for Bray, and that's what allowed Goodman the chance to slide up the inside line without really having any problems at all. So he's now got himself into that very crucial lead on the opening lap. It's up to Bray now to stay with him and start to hunt him down for position. But he's got the knowledge of knowing that he did beat him in the earlier class in their alternative bikes earlier on. So he's got good speed and good pace around here. It's now up to Bray to really give pressure to Goodman.
Here we go then, the drone footage there showing just how much Ruben Bray was picking up and pulling away from the rest of the field. Here we go towards Christmas once again, that uphill braking zone, and at the moment Goodman has got the advantage at the front and can afford to take his own lines into the corner. Bray not really close enough just yet to go for a pass, and realistically, of course, in the second moto they are shortened quite considerably now because of the incidents earlier on. Really is now or never at the moment to go for position. Ruben Bray, he can't afford to hang around for too long here to try and get past Goodman.
So this is awkward for Bray because he's only got 3.5 laps left of racing before the checkered flag falls. So he doesn't have a massive amount of time to get on with this. He's just got to extend his opportunities in the braking zone. He's got to get a little bit earlier on the throttle every time he gets a chance. Goodman's playing the conservative card here. He's being a little bit easy on the throttle, easy on the brakes. He doesn't want to push the bike too hard. Bray is going hell for leather, and that's what's going to give him a good run as they battle for position. This is a little bit further back. This is Weston and Willis. Willis is going to try and come right round the outside.
Oh, he's going to switch down the inside into Christmas. Lovely move there. That was a very tactical move there from Peter Willis. I think he almost sold Weston a dummy there on the outside. Left that inside open, but always trying to fight back down the inside there is Weston, but can't quite make the move stick. 2.5 laps to go. This battle of a third, very close. That one into Christmas corner there was quite interesting because I think you would say Willis almost sold a dummy there. Went round the outside and then left the inside open, of course, went straight down and made the move stick.
Yeah, he did. I think Weston was trying to cover him off, essentially, and chopped across the front fairing of the bike. But there was no way he was sticking to that one. He felt, well, I've still got plenty of pace and speed. He's going to be compromised, so this is my chance. And he made full advantage of it. Grieg is now trying to battle away there with Mullen as they hold on for 5th position. Grieg is trying to be a little bit defensive there on Lewis Mullen. You've got to remember they're not even in the same class, these two, but keeping Mullen between him and Lathrop is very good tactically. Lathrop tries again to get up the inside. Well held by Grieg, but he's running the gauntlet there, battling with him. If that was me, I wouldn't be trying quite so hard to keep in front because, yes, you've only got a lap and a half to go, okay, but the main opposition for him are Lathrop and Greasley behind. So if Mullen wants to get through and make the move for position, Well, he's got a lot more to lose, Grieg, in 5th position than Mullen has in 6th, because Mullen is racing the guys up in front of them. Grieg is the leader in his class, so he doesn't want to throw away an opportunity to get a victory by battling too hard with someone he's not effectively racing against.
Closing stage of this race now then, 1 lap to go, and at the front it's still Daniel Goodman leading from Ruben Bray.
But look, they've caught the back markers already, and that's already compromised Goodman. Bray is now right with him.
So this is Bray's final chance. Christmas goes begging, you would say there, as it goes round for the final time. There are 1 or 2 slow riders in front, and Bray down the inside with the tail enders, but Goodman shuts the door. Still some slow riders, of course, on this final lap. They look to one side, let the leaders through, and Bray again tries that inside line. Goodman again guarding the inside line, but there's another slower rider in front, of course, running his own race. That's the 93, George Wood, I believe.
I think Ruben's compromised. He's compromised.
Yeah.
I thought he had the chance there to get on the throttle and just get underneath Goodman. He should have taken the opportunity about 4 corners ago. Now he's really going to struggle into this final bend, but if he keeps the throttle open and gets it round the outside, he might get a chance to split them. It's going to be Goodman.
That was close, says the 277 of Cade Watt, brings home in 20th place, splitting those 2 leaders. Very, very close indeed from Goodman and Bray, as they got already amongst the slower traffic. Willis in 3rd. The 151, Zach Weston, Joel Grieg. Well, Joel Grieg didn't look like a JSM bike there, but showing on the class as JSM 140, so provisional winner of that class. Mason Greasley 7th and 2nd of the JSM 140s. Harvey Lathrop, Nathan Ellis Ward, and Teo Collymore rounding out the top 10 in what was a very competitive race. Daniel Goodman and Ruben Bray fighting to the line. Slower traffic on the final lap made life difficult for the 2 leaders, but it really was a good race to the flag. Daniel Goodman was the one who held them off. So from our youngest riders.